want you to turn it up this time because I want to make sure that I turn the volume actually down. See? There you go. What's that music remind you of?
Something fun. I don't know.
Something fun.
It's fun.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hello, people.
It's Greg.
Hello.
Now you can mute it. It's Greg Tizer.
So you didn't like that.
Andy Schultz. How you guys doing? Hope you're doing well. We're here to just chat about some random stuff.
Yep.
Talk about some Northridge news, and then we got a little conversation concerning the E word. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But a couple quick random questions, like why is 80s music so recognizable?
Because it's been around for a while.
but you know what I mean? Okay, so like I was
Yeah, I'm on. Okay.
I was at Culver's and waiting in the drive-thru, and they had that music. Or no, what was it? Sweet Freedom. You know that song?
No.
By Michael McDonald.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was on the speaker outside. But I was listening to it, and it's just like 80s music is so recognizable. What do you think is more recognizable, 90s or 80s music?
80s.
80s music? Why is it? What makes it so recognizable?
I think it's used more. It's like kind of got a poppier feel, right?
Poppier feel.
Poppier feel. More. I don't know.
I don't
There's
know.
80s parties. Well, I guess there's 90s parties now, but it's still 80s parties.
What do you wear? Jeans with holes and flannel?
Yeah, I guess so.
That sounds like me.
It's like Andy every Sunday. Every Sunday's a 90s party.
Yeah.
Every day's a 90s party.
Yeah. Well, you grew up like you're kind
of a hybrid, both 80s, 90s.
but a lot of it more in the 80s. Were you a teenager, late teenager in the 90s?
Yeah. No, I was. Yeah. Yep.
And I was more kind of 90s, late 80s, 90s.
I'm a Gen Xer. You're a in-betweener.
Yeah.
No, you're a X.
78.
You're lowercase x.
Lowercase x.
When's it switch? Because now there's the Xennials, which is like 80 through 85, and then it's millennials. So, yeah.
All right. Which music?
But I think the big factor is I had two older sisters, one 4 years older, one 8 years older. So I heard a lot more of that 80s stuff through them, music and such. Yeah. I'm trying to take this lid off.
Second quick hitter question. Are you really nervous about tonight's game?
Sure. It's an elimination game 5.
If you had to put money on who would win.
I wouldn't. I don't gamble, Andy. I wouldn't do that. I could go with my heart. My heart is I believe the Dodgers should win.
They should win.
Yes.
What about the other side?
They're evil. The Giants, they're evil.
No,
horrible
of the other
franchise.
games.
Oh.
Like I was talking to Brendan Anderson last night, and he said he wished the Yankees were still in it.
Oh.
And then he said he wants Boston to win, and that he would feel okay if Houston Astros won. I'm like, what is wrong with that child?
It's me staring into Brennan's
and
eyes.
Ben, you gotta let us.
Who's raising that child?
You gotta let us.
Who says Yankees and then Red Sox and then Houston?
Right.
I mean, the only possible way that could have been worse was Yankees, then Houston, then Red Sox.
I don't know if I mean,
like Houston, I don't know.
Yeah, I was pretty grossed out about it last night.
What do you think about that? I sent you that thing last night. Do you think that's legit? Like it said Major League Baseball is installing like magnets and stuff in the Houston and Boston to try to eliminate camera feed use.
I don't know if it's legit.
I don't know if that was legit or a joke. I didn't know.
I don't know.
But there have been more complaints from the White Sox about
the White Sox
Houston
are complaining about it,
stealing signs again.
But
and
I
up to
think
their
they were
old
just
shenanigans,
whining about losing.
It is an easy target at some point. It's an easy thing to say
because I think they were the least, even more so than like the Braves or who's the other team? The Rays, or I think the White Sox were in one of the easiest divisions to win and to get to the playoffs because you got the Twins, the Royals, the Cleveland Indians. I mean, they were all garbage.
Was probably the worst division this year, right?
And so I think their quality was a little inflated because they were in such a bad division, and so they were on the bottom end of teams that had a realistic chance to move forward. And I think the Braves are probably still are there, but they're running off of kind of some magic. I mean, I thought when Ronald Acuna got hurt in the middle of the season, they were done.
I thought they were done.
But then they just keep going. And
they got a lot of good players, though.
I wouldn't mind seeing them win either because Freddie Freeman.
If the Dodgers
lose tonight, would you be okay if the Braves win?
I would be okay with the Braves, yeah. In fact, I'm trying to think of the teams left. If the Dodgers were out, I would probably pull for the Braves. With the teams left, for sure.
Yeah, Boston?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Boston would be second, only because they seem like, well, they got a few former Dodgers that I like, in Verdugo and Kike, but they're kind of, as far as the Boston Red Sox can be, they seem like the overachievers, too, for the American League this year. They weren't expected to be here, I don't think, yet.
Well, the Braves got Jock Peterson.
Yeah. Yeah. The Braves are fun. The Braves are really good. Yeah. By the way, lost in the whole Houston cheating thing is the fact that Houston's really good. And this is the 5th straight year in the ALCS.
Yeah.
And it's like.
Does that mean they're still cheating or they're just a good team?
Maybe both.
And but does it
bother
you?
But it's like Barry Bonds. It's like lost in the fact that Barry Bonds was a Reuter of epic proportions.
He can still crush ball.
He was a Hall of Fame, like once in a generation talent to begin with.
Yeah.
Houston's really good. They got a lot of good ball players.
Would you rather see Houston or Boston win?
Boston.
Yep. Yep.
I feel like Boston's just easier to root for, and that's saying something, right? You have to do something egregious to make the nation root for the Yankees or Boston, or admittedly, like a large part of the nation doesn't want to root for the Dodgers. I get it, but
what time does the game start tonight?
I think 9 o'clock our time.
Oh wow!
So
we'll actually be able to watch some of it because we have a special leaders meeting tonight.
Yep.
And that should get. It's supposed to be done around 9 o'clock. Yeah. But pray for us. It's
how meetings go.
Yeah, it's all the staff, ministry leaders, and overseers just to kind of talk and pray about this upcoming year. Normally we do that in August, but Ben and Terry were on a sabbatical, and August ended just wacky here, so we put it off till now. So it'll be good just to get together. The last quick question that I have, did you notice what sweatshirt I'm wearing?
Yeah, Maui.
Just saying. Anyway, let's talk about some Northridge stuff.
Okay.
What do we have coming up here at Northridge in terms of news and notes? Last night, I saw you sitting in the back here in the kids program. How many kids were here?
I counted. I should know.
You counted. Terrible memory.
No, yeah. Well, that's true. But I want to say 62 was in my count.
62?
I think that's what I was. 62, I think.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
And then we had we didn't have as many kids here in the building last night because last night for youth was Fun Fusion. And some of those students were actually off campus.
Yeah.
So it was sort of a skewed number. However, there were still a lot of up to 10th graders in the building. And there was a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm. There was a lot of pizza that was eaten. They were even clapping during a slow song during the worship time. It was weird.
Yeah.
A song I would have never thought to clap to.
Yeah.
And little Miss, I think it's Sydney Genvik, she started clapping and she got a big smile on her face because she started the clap. But it was fun, fun night. Again, if you have kids in anywhere from 2nd to 12th grade and they're not coming on Wednesday nights, they should just come.
Yeah.
It's awesome. What else is going on, Greg?
Saturday evening, following service, we have the Mad for Missions dinner. Saturday night supper, and just a fun evening of great food, the same menu, or at least much of the same menu from the block party, the pork chops and like all that stuff was good. So the food's awesome, but we're going to have Dan and the team from our Make a Difference ministry, missions ministry, just talking all about what we're doing at Northridge for Make a Difference. There's
kind of a Q&A type of a thing too, right?
Q&A, if you have questions about missions, about going on mission trips, what we're doing, all that stuff, some of our ministry partners. I'm sure we have a few of our ministry partners like who are in town. I don't know if anyone will be
I don't
around.
know if the pastors are going to be.
I don't know.
They were here this last weekend.
Yeah.
Rob and Jackie.
So it'd be cool. It'll be a cool evening.
Is that what you shot that video for?
No, that was with Leslie Meehy, and it's just sharing her experience. But it is for the dinner, yes. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was
to play. Yeah. No, I thought when you said video, I thought you meant with the pastors. It wasn't with the pastors. It
No,
was, with Leslie.
Leslie.
No.
So they're going to show that video. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. You have to register or just come?
I think you just show up.
Does it cost anything, or is
there's
it
a free will donation
for
food?
And is it in the now? The first
It's in the great room.
It is in the great room.
We settled that
Okay.
yesterday. Yep.
Because they had talked about doing it in the
Yeah.
atrium.
Yeah.
And now it was on the great room on all the posters, and then you said that in the announcements last week, and wasn't really sure. But then I saw you guys wandering around in the great room, and we put up sound panels in the great room. And so if you've ever been to an event in the great room and it's like, I can't hear anything,
It's echoey.
because it's echoey and stuff, it's so much better.
It's way better.
Like there was 30 some kids playing games in there, and the sound was so deadening. It was so much better.
Yeah. You could talk from across the room,
Right.
Like in normal voice.
And you could understand what. So Saturday, right after the service, kind of in the 6:30, 6:20ish range, and come on down.
Yeah, do it.
Should be good.
Be fun.
What
Operation
else?
Christmas Child kickoff this weekend.
This weekend.
Yeah, we have boxes in the entryway, both entryways of the building, where you could take home the shoe boxes to start filling those up. It's crazy to think that we're on the cusp of like Operation Christmas Child. I know it's Christmas and it's like that's
it's
an
the
early
only
thing.
Acceptable.
It has
Christmas
to be done early,
thing
but it's
this
October. It's crazy to think that we're talking about that, though.
Right.
It's just like I love.
But
it's my
Christmas
favorite time of
anywhere
year.
else other than Operation Christmas Child, at the store.
Nope.
Christmas music at the anywhere.
Music that's crazy. You've heard music somewhere?
No, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Anything else related to Christmas this early is not acceptable.
My kids wanted to watch Elf the other night.
You can't
Asher
do it.
was like, "We should watch a Christmas movie. Let's watch Elf."
Can't do it.
We
Don't
didn't,
do it.
But
You did?
no, we didn't.
Oh,
We ended up doing something else. But
I mean, see, that's the magic of just withholding it is the anticipation.
yeah,
You can watch it early December, but not.
we did start.
I suppose you could do it
No, you know what we did?
Thanksgiving weekend,
Um,
the day after.
Tim Burton. Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, because that's more of a Halloween. It's kind of a mix, but that's an acceptable Halloween
Spooky.
movie.
You like-
last
you like
year's the
scary
first year
movies?
The kids, not really, only because they're usually dumb.
They usually show
really
way
dumb.
too much.
They're just usually really bad movies.
Yeah.
Like
How
there's been
is-
a few that have been okay, but
How is Michael Myers still alive?
yeah, that one. That's
It has
dumb.
to be somebody just taking up the Michael Myers mantle and not the original dude.
Right.
Because chop his head off for crying out loud. Anyway.
Whatever. Then apparently people are still paying to see this movie.
Yeah. Well, there's Jamie Lee
That's-
Curtis.
Honestly, that's Jordan's biggest gripe with football. Like when we have football on, or the commercials, or even ESPN, or something. But if I have, say, Sunday Night Football
Yeah.
or Monday Night Football,
The commercials.
ads, and they always have like horror movies this time of year.
Yeah.
Scary movie, and the ads, and then like, she's like telling the kids like, don't look, or
Oh,
whatever,
okay. Like if your kids are
Yeah,
watching. I
yeah.
get it. Back to Northridge News.
Anyway.
What else is happening? Any other events that we should be aware
Yeah,
of?
trunk or treat.
Trunk or
Kids
treat.
trunk or treat.
And
coming up.
what's weird is Halloween is actually on a
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah. So
I was
Sunday night.
Second guessing myself.
Yeah, you were.
I knew it was on the weekend, but Sunday. So you had the services in the morning.
Yep.
What are the chances we get Ben to dress up in a costume Sunday morning?
Sunday morning? Probably not. Probably not very good.
What if he did like a king, like
King dressed like a king?
like the Burger King? I want the
the
Burger, King.
It's funny because in my mind I was thinking of King from Hamilton.
Okay.
George.
Yep.
Right?
A message from the king.
Yeah, and you could say that before he comes up.
That'll
give
be
them- do the message.
walk-up music.
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be hilarious.
That would be, but I don't think it'll happen.
I don't think it will happen either.
Yeah. Maybe we could get Ben to dress up in a tie. That'd be dress up.
Here's what I would do. If Ben would do that, I would totally dress up with a jester. outfit and lead worship.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't because I think I'm going to be on vacation that week.
Are you? Okay.
But I think I could make Brad do it.
Will Brad wear a jester
I
costume?
don't think so. Just kidding. I don't think he would. I don't know.
I don't think any of this is going to happen.
No, I don't.
But
either.
it'd be fun.
It'd
be funny.
So that
It'd
night
be fun.
or that whole day is Halloween technically.
Yep.
But that night we have trunk or treat.
Trunk or treat.
And it's going to be on the south parking lot, like it usually is.
Good question, because last year we had it in the north parking lot. Or not last year, we didn't have it, right? Or did we? Year before. We had it, the last time we had it was in the north parking lot.
Okay.
Which is nicer and smoother.
Yeah, it's a nicer.
Easier to walk on.
Right.
So it's a good question.
I have no idea.
A little bit more limited as far
I think
as
right now at this point we're looking for people to decorate their vehicle.
And there's a needs list. I think you could find it on the kids ministry page or maybe on the news and events page.
Yeah. Well, and I saw Courtney had posted something in the last couple of days on Facebook as well.
If you want to have your trunk here, decorate your trunk. Nothing too scary. We should say nothing scary at all, like Pastor Doug, scariest mask ever.
And the trailer full of like cobwebs and bats and
scary music.
Yeah.
And
it's hard of hearing. He didn't hear.
Nothing scary. Nothing scary. But because there are little kids, which is, to me, the best part of like trunk or treat or Halloween is like the little kids dressed up. It's just, it's cute. Like they're all little tigers or
But it's kind of
lions
funny,
or
though,
whatever.
with neighbors coming. And they come with...
Oh, yeah.
There was
like
some
crazy.
really hilarious...
Mike Myers or whatever.
Yeah, there was some really good, but kind of on the scary side of costumes.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I remember.
Yeah. Well, and it's all good. That's part of what
that's why we want
do
to do this is for our neighbors.
We just don't want to have the people that are doing a trunk. Don't decorate your trunk super scary. There have been some great ones over the last couple of years, though, like really creative.
What do you remember that's your favorite?
Kim Kringen a couple years ago did Price is Right. Was it Price is Right? It was like a game show kind of setup.
Did he dress up?
That? I don't think he dressed up.
I was going to say,
there's
no way
they
he
had
dressed
props
up.
like a little. Was it a wheel or was it a Plinko thing? He had something. That was a couple years.
Funny.
We already talked about my memory and how bad it is. I just remember it was like a game show setup. That was good. There's been some fun stuff, but whoa, there was the last one I'm out here that I remember it being good, and I don't remember what it was. There have been some creative setups.
Yeah.
Let's just leave
Well,
it at
I'm
that.
hit or miss. It's like every other year that I'll show up, but I don't think I was here the last time we did it. 2 years. Technically, 2 years ago.
We've been here every year, and I have one child who probably makes about 10 rounds through the parking lot, and then we'll ask to go on canvas the local neighborhood.
That wouldn't be Evan. Would
it would be. And he loves that night.
How did I guess?
Yeah. He gets a lot of
so
candy.
let Courtney or Jack, mostly Courtney, right?
Yeah.
Courtney know.
Courtney is organizing and
she'll be kind of leading that
this.
thing. And let her know if you want to decorate anything and be a part of that.
Yep.
And then obviously if you have kids, bring them on by that day. You might be able to hit up 2 trunk or treats in this neighborhood because I believe that Word of Peace is doing something.
I think theirs is Saturday night.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a different night if I remember right. I definitely could be wrong, but I think I heard that. I don't know.
Okay. I thought I saw somebody from Northridge posting something about. Anyway.
Okay.
Well, either way.
5:30 to 7:30.
5:30 to 7:30.
And there's a needs list on the news and events page. You could go right to it. We do have if you don't want to do a trunk, but you want to help somehow, we have a check-in station just for volunteers and for trunks and people to check in. A refreshment station, people that do like hot chocolate and stuff like that. Cider, I think, whatever we usually have. Also a building monitor because we will have the building open for people to use if you need to use the restroom or anything like that. Also to walk through because we could park on one side, the trunk or treat will be on the other side if people drive their kids and park. The back lot is under construction, so we want the building open to walk through. And so we need a few people just kind of in the building just to host, just to be inside. And then some cleanup. There's always a little bit of trash and stuff like that. Nothing major, but there's some cool jobs and lots of trunks to sign up. if you want to just bring candy or donate some extra candy, because some people run out of candy and, kind of need like emergency refill.
Runners.
And, yep.
Although, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go to the website, news and events, check that out. And we've got a few weeks before that. But now's a great time to sign up for it.
Yep. We also have the youth retreats coming up.
Yep, both the youth retreats we've been talking about for a few weeks here. The middle school at the end of the month, and then the high school in November. November, the one for the high school does cost money, so you want to make sure you get signed up and paid. If you can't afford it, or if you want help with finances, let us know. We'll figure it out for you.
But you do have to register ahead of time.
Yep. And there is a early bird special, just price increase at a certain point. So go on the website and check that out. And
early bird gets the worm, Andy.
Yeah. There was a weird joke in there that I forgot.
The early worm gets the bird. That's the the early worm gets eaten.
No, what was that you that used to say something about
It's
that?
a terrible saying because it's like, the early bird gets the worm, but the early worm is, he dies.
Yeah, I'm a late worm.
You're a late worm. Yeah.
All right. I think that's about it in terms of Northridge news stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else, you go into the news and events page. But I wanted to talk about something here that we started talking about. You and Ben have been kind of dipping your toes into it. It's a long history of love-hate with the church. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it seems like it. It's a big church word that you might never say on a week-to-week basis. It's something that we're all supposed to engage in as followers of Jesus, but for some reason have a hard time getting around it consistently. And yet it's the thing that Jesus told us, really instructed us to do before he went back to heaven after he was resurrected from the dead. And that word is, now it wasn't that way in the Bible. I know I'm building it up.
Oh.
It wasn't that way. Jesus didn't use that word. But we know that idea and concept as evangelism. Just in a sentence, what's the definition of evangelism, Greg?
In a sentence?
I don't know.
Well,
not like
Google it.
Not like a big old conversation definition.
Well, evangelism's used, not just in church. It's used, basically it's just to tell people about something that you have or that you're, an idea. So in our context, it's to tell people about who Jesus is.
Right. And it's interesting that you said that because yesterday I Googled evangelism definition, and all the definitions I found, they did attach it to church
They didn't?
language. No, they did.
They did, yeah.
All the definitions like Webster,
Okay.
dictionary.com, it was always attached to something religious or Bible or God related.
Yeah.
But I remembered hearing, that because you said that, it was in the early 2000s where Starbucks was using that term, evangelism, in their marketing strategy.
Yep, I remember that.
And so, say that again. Just a general, not necessarily churchy related definition.
It's sharing with others or telling others about something that you have or something that you want to share or, are a fan of or, So for us, it's sharing with others who Jesus is, what he's done, sharing your story, and how he's changed you.
Now, it's hard to project. It's hard to put ourselves in the position of a non-Christian. And Ben and I talk about this all the time when it comes to weekend services and saying, how would this come across to a non-church person or a non-Christian or non-believer? And it's really impossible to see that from their perspective, mostly because, I don't know, this is probably you too as well. You've grown up in the church. You've, seen things from this side of, for the majority of your life. But from a non-Christian's perspective, what do you think some of the biggest problems or issues that somebody who's not connected to the church or doesn't believe in God or has never gone to church before, that they would have with just the church's general approach to evangelism?
Well, I mean, there was a period I didn't go. Like, we didn't go to church from, I was probably late elementary until I started going back, like, as a young adult, like in my early 20s. But I would guess I think one of the things that makes it hard from a Christian perspective is the idea or the thought or the fear that a non-Christian is gonna like come back at like, oh, quit trying to push your beliefs on me, or like, why are you trying to change me? Why are you trying to push that? And I don't know if that's necessarily, maybe we do hear that sometimes, oh, you're just trying to convert people or trying to push your beliefs on people. But from an authentic, genuine Christian perspective, I mean, if we really believe that Jesus is our Lord and Savior and Redeemer, and that he's gone to the cross on our behalf, and he rose again, and he gives us eternal life. If you believe that, then you can't help but want to share that if you care about other people. Right? If you believe that to be true, then why wouldn't you want to share that with others? And so, aside from that, like he said, we're commanded to. I mean, that's the Great Commission is the last thing Jesus commanded of his disciples. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that answered your question or
not really at all.
No. What was your question again?
Because the question was more from the perspective of the receiver of of it, as opposed to us. Because I mean, I've been on mission trips. I've gone to outreaches downtown. I have conversations with non-Christians. Not enough conversations because I'm not in enough environments where I can have these conversations to be around non-church people. But I've been there and done all that. But what I'm curious is, from the other side of the perspective, I wonder what the biggest pushback you'd get from a non-Christian when trying to approach them and share how good God is, or share the gospel with them.
Seems like it'd be like situational, but it also probably depends on the approach from the Christian. It's like, are you being pushy? Are you like telling people like, oh, you're a terrible person, you should be living life this way or that way? I mean, I would be defensive.
Do you think there'd be some like feelings of judgment from this?
Yeah, right. And I would be defensive if someone came at me with that. But so much of it is the fault of the believers and the church, as far as that goes. But on an individual level and on a corporate level, I mean, the church has gotten behind some things that have probably been very difficult for a lot of people, to where they felt judged rather than loved. Yeah. And I'm not talking necessarily about like local church, like Northridge or, but like, I won't even say worldwide, but like, let's just keep it at home here, American church. Like, whether it's, I remember in the early 90s, there was a big push to boycott Disney. I don't know if you remember that, because you were a wee lad. You were yet a teenager. So there's this big boycott
early
Disney.
Early 90s, I would have been just a teenager.
Okay. Do you remember the boycott Disney thing? So one thing, when I was actually, my church previous to Northridge, I was pastoring a church in California that was kind of a dying, like a rejuvenation type, rebuilding type project. And so our network of churches, there was a group of us that were involved with this church rejuvenation kind of movement. And we go to this big conference about this down in Orlando. And it was hosted at this huge church in Orlando, or outside Orlando. And the pastor at that church gave like the opening kind of keynote, speaker kind of thing. And one of the things he said is he referenced that boycott. And he said, now we're in Orlando, and about half my church worked for Disney at that time. He's like, what am I supposed to do when everyone is saying like, oh, Christians have to boycott Disney? And it was over dumb stuff, but, and it's like, wow, yeah, okay, so maybe we didn't think through that. But it's stuff like that where when it seems like there's a population of of people, or there's a group of people, or in this case the church, that gets behind some kind of movement, there's a backlash, and there's another group of people on the outside that maybe feel the wrath of that or feel judged by it, right? And not necessarily loved by it. And I think it's a hard one, because we can't project our, like, the way we think, the way I think I ought to live, the way I think that, if I read Scripture and the way I believe that God commands me to live, or Jesus calls me to live, I don't know that I could project that on someone that doesn't know Jesus. In fact, I don't think I should or can, right? It's like, if I didn't know Jesus, I would live a lot differently. So that's why this is difficult, I think, for most, because it's intimidating, right?
Yeah, well, and that's why I wanted to start with that question, because it's almost unanswerable to the point.
That's why I just rambled for 5 minutes.
Because not only do you not know as a Christian how a non-Christian is going to respond. Everybody's so different, their backgrounds, their experiences, their views, their ideologies, all that kind of stuff is so different from person to person that it's not even worth trying to anticipate how they would respond. The best strategy, I think, is to really just focus on how has God changed and worked in your life, and sharing from that perspective of your own experience, because that's something that nobody can argue about.
Yeah.
They can't argue and refute
Your story.
your experience and your story. And so you don't have to worry about not knowing all the metadata and all the scientific backup and all this kind of stuff. All you need to do is just share your own particular story. And I think that so coming around the side of the Christian, the average church person, what do you think, are maybe the top 3 or 4 hesitations or fears that keeps people from engaging in evangelism on a regular basis? Not a church program either.
Just
not
personal,
something,
like
just personal in their own personal life. What do you think keeps them from doing it?
It's funny, because even yesterday in our staff meeting talking about this, my first, I think one of my initial thoughts is, most people, the fear is probably, something like, I don't want to get into a scientific debate that I don't have answers for. I don't want to get into even a philosophical debate that I can't answer. This person's, smarter than me, or, I can't have those kind of arguments. But I think that it's even a step deeper than that, and it's that people, if I have a relationship with someone, it's really hard, that I like, and it's good, friendship, it's hard to get to that point of, okay, if I introduce this thing, this might change the relationship, and they might not want to hang out with me anymore, or they might not want to talk to me about stuff anymore, or they might, our conversations will be different. Sure. And I think that's kind of an underlying fear we don't think about, is like, I don't want to change the relationship, but the other ones would be, I don't want to get into an argument or a debate. I don't want to cause problems, I don't know.
What do you mean, cause problems?
Like, I don't want to cause problems with other people. I don't want to, I just don't want it to lead to any type of like argument or awkwardness, or
Sure.
I just want to, like, hey, we get along at work already. I don't want to make the workplace awkward. I don't, I think it's probably more along those lines is probably the biggest fear, whether it's something that we can identify or not. Like, I just don't want to change the relationship with that person. So, but then I think the important thing is to think, like, at what cost, And by no means am I an expert here, because there are definitely relationships that I have that I, probably could do more of, like, sharing in, or, I even have that thought with, like, social media. I share probably, 95% of my Facebook is either baseball or dumb jokes, like memes, you know.
That's true.
It is. I mean, it is. Or I share the worship service on, like I share it on the weekends. But that's like things that people could scroll by. You know what I mean? Like there's friends that I have on Facebook that I just think, oh, if I get too preachy, or if I get too, or if I take hard opinions on certain things that I don't want people to unfollow or to like lose that connection. You know what I mean?
Do you think social media is a complete stay away for that kind of stuff? Just don't do it there? Or do you think it's a
I just don't think it does anything.
Okay.
I just don't, personally, just my opinion, and people can argue. I mean, I get it. If that's your platform that you want to, I just don't think it's very effective, because I think the people that, I'm not saying don't share a verse, or, you know, share something that God's doing in your life. I do that from time to time, but I think the people that, I just don't know how many people are like affected by it. You know what I mean? You'll get likes from the people that like it already, or that are already on that same level with you. But then again, the argument could be made, and it's legitimate. It's like, well, what if someone does see that, and you know, God has been working on them, and they see, you know, you post something or share something, and God does use it. Like, absolutely, He could use it.
Right. And I think, you know, when you think about all the different opportunities and environments and situations, there's always going to be some of these exceptions. But you think of all of those places, social media, you think of the random person at the store, family member, your friends group, and then just going out into some random location, whether it's with a mission trip or an outreach group, into an unknown territory with unknown people. What I'm trying to ask is, like, what is there a better or optimal environment for evangelism? I mean, because when you, I think it was especially a lot in like the late 90s, early 2000s, there was almost more of this, here's coaching on evangelism. Mm-hmm. Here's teaching on evangelism. Mm-hmm. Here's how to do it. Oh, it's not this way. It's the relational evangelism. Oh, right. It's not that way. Right. It's this quick hitter thing. Oh, it's not that way. Yeah. Let's use social media. Let's use your MySpace and turn it into an evangelistic opportunity.
You know, his space. Was there a his space? I feel like there should have been a his space. MySpace is.
I mean, is
space.
there a better or worse way to do it? Place to do it?
I would,
because I think that's part of the inactivity.
In my younger years, I would say yes, and it's because when you're young and stupid, like when you're a young adult,
you think you know everything.
Think you know everything.
Yeah.
And because your way is the only way to do it.
So what would you have said when you were young?
I would have said, like, street witnessing was like, why would you do that? That's not gonna help anyone. And by street witnessing, I guess I'm meaning more the guy with the bullhorn, like yelling on the street corner. That type. Right. Like there was a guy where Jordan went to college,
wearing the sign says "Repent."
Yeah, the end is near. Yep. And I don't know how effective that would be. But then now I think, well, maybe, I mean, God could use anything. So maybe there is someone walking down the street at that time that it hits them. I'll give you an example. Two examples. One, my mentor in growing up in ministry, Mike Vanderdusen, his youth pastor was driving down the street in the 70s and blasting the radio, and AC/DC, Highway to Hell came on, and it got his attention, like, you know, I am on a highway to hell, just because of the way he was living his life. God used that song to get that guy's attention to say, oh my goodness, I am on a highway to hell. And he like repented and became a Christian, got into ministry, got into youth ministry and that. So it's like, okay, God used this music that most Christians were trying to get rid of, by the way, like trying to didn't focus on the family, like in the 80s, told parents to throw away all their kids'
original cancel culture.
heavy metal cassette tapes. Yeah. But then the other one is like tracts. I used to remember so I had some friends that were like food service, waiters, waitress. What I can't think of the
Caterers?
word. No, waiters. What's a waiter? For the
Server?
word? Server. Food server.
Waiter? Well, they used to call them waiters.
I know. I couldn't think of the word server. Even though I said they were in food service, I could not think of the word server. They were servers, right? And they would get so upset. And these are one friend in particular, my friend Ashley, who worked at Red Robin all through college. And yeah. I know you have a bad Red Robin experience.
It's actually not Red Robin. It's pomegranate soap.
Yeah. Long story for another time. Ashley, she was awesome, but she worked at Red Robin, and she used to say the church crowd was the worst. And she's a Christian. I mean, she served in our youth ministry. I mean,
messy. Didn't leave good tips.
After Sunday crowds were the worst.
Yeah.
And she said it was so frustrating because I work with all these people who are not churchgoers, are not Christian, and they complain about the church people coming in, messy, rude, disrespectful, don't leave a tip, or leave a really bad tip. Or she's like, the worst one is they'll leave tracts. Instead of a tip, they'll leave a tract.
Oh my gosh, that's so gross.
Right. Well, so, but I get it. As I'm older, I understand. Like, okay, I get the heart and the idea behind it. Is people did that I hope they weren't doing that because they were just cheap and they didn't want to give a tip, but they genuinely thought, okay, my waiter's going to pick this up and they're going to read this and maybe God's going to use it and they're going to turn their life to Jesus. Like, I mean, I think that's the general, genuine intent, right? I would hope it's not just I'm too cheap to tip this person that's making below minimum wage salary, but she would complain about church people all the time. And then, so that it kind of used to bug me, and especially the track thing. But then, so fast forward several years, and when I was at Maple Plain Community Church, the senior pastor there, Greg Donnelly, he went to the U. He grew up in Minnesota, went to the U, but he was self-proclaimed like hippie, druggy, pot smoker, and he was down partying in New Orleans as a young adult and come stumbling out of a bar. This is how he says it. I came stumbling out of a bar and sat on the curb, and I saw something in the gutter under some mud, and I brushed off the mud, and it was a tract, and picked it up and read it, and he gave his life to Jesus, and then changed his life then, like went into ministry and everything. So I don't know, man. God uses anything and everything, and I think what's better, what's worse, I think it's what's God calling you to. How did he create you? How are you wired? Personally, I'm not wired to go out on the street corner and wear a sign and yell, or honestly, I'm not even wired to go to a crowded area and pass out tracts. People do that, and that's what God's calling them to do, and that's how they're gifted and wired, then I think they ought to. If God's asking you to do something, I think that's how you ought to do it. But I'm wired more for relationships, so my default is going to be more get to know people, but I'll be honest, it's hard to go to that next level. Even like we admitted in our staff meeting yesterday, as pastors, it's hard even for us sometimes to go to that next level. Even when people expect us to talk about spiritual things, when it's a personal relationship or family member or something like that, people that you're close to, sometimes it's hard to go to that level, right? Like, okay, let me tell you about Jesus now.
Well, I was talking to Brax yesterday, and I think family is such a hard thing.
It's very hard.
In fact, I would be more willing to bet. Not that you shouldn't ever. In fact, I think the best thing is just be a great example.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes, it's not the person that you're closest to, that the other person's closest to, that is the one instrumental in leading that person to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. That's one thing I had to be told years ago. I'm not God's only option.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not his last.
He's not your last resort. He's not even your first.
But what I noticed,
you're a resort though.
But what I noticed in those other those stories that you told, whether it was the AC/DC story or the Louisiana, is there were such moments of circumstance that could not have been orchestrated by any human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of our problem, you have those that tend to stray away from evangelism, and then those that go at it a little too aggressively, and they try to force those moments to happen.
Yeah.
And that's where, issues do arise at the workplace, where you create an environment that's now agitated because you decided to share or push something. Yeah. Or in the family where you just picked the wrong moment to share it, and now everybody is looking at you as some judgmental person, or for whatever reason. And so
makes Thanksgiving awkward.
Right. It's kind of like, why would people be way more comfortable talking about politics at Thanksgiving and not religion?
That's not comfortable at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And so so there is still some weird, I don't want to call it stigma, but just why on a whole are we uncomfortable having spiritual conversations with people we don't know or people we do know, and how do we get over that? Before you answer that, we're only going to talk about this for a little bit. Greg's got to jump out of here at 3:00, but we're going to be focusing on this. Yeah. It's just going to be something brewing under the surface in everything that we do for a while. And so just be ready and journey along with us. Well, we admitted yesterday in staff meeting that we all struggle with this, and we want to embrace God's higher calling for evangelism as a church, as Northridge, as followers of Jesus. So let's grow together in this, and we'll have more conversations. But the last thing I wanted to ask you, Greg, is Eric put, it's funny how sometimes kids are better at it. For sure.
Oh yeah.
They are. That is so true.
Absolutely.
And that's why Jesus said, "Let the children lead us."
Right.
You know. But what I wanted to say is, why is the American church culture better at evangelizing the church? Like, come to my church. My church is great. I love my church. We have an awesome this or that. Yeah. But we don't evangelize the gospel very well.
That's a good question. I've never really thought about it that way, but you're right. Because as soon as you talk about something like with a Christian friend from a different church, like, oh yeah, we're doing this. Whoa, well, at our church we're doing. You should do this. I hate it, but it happens. I don't know. Is it because of our? I want to. Maybe it's the wrong term, but like an entrepreneurial mindset or consumer mindset, like in America. You know what I mean? It's like,
keep going.
This place is
we'll
better.
Flush it out.
You know, there's that thing, like Joe Rogan talks about a lot, about how there's this thing that happens with people when you do something, you want other people to do it. Like, oh, you got to try this restaurant. Oh no, don't go there. Oh, you got to come try this. Sure. Like, I don't know. There's just this thing in us that if whatever we're experiencing, we think, you know, if we like it, it's got to be the best. It's got to be better than what's going on across the street. I don't know what that is, but it's true, and I hate it because it's like, well, good. There's room for plenty more churches, like local churches, church bodies in any community in this country. Even so, when we drive down to Texas around Christmas time, we drive through Oklahoma, and there's this highway we have to go down, and you pass through small towns on this highway where you come to a four-way stop, and there's a gas station on one corner, and the other three corners are churches.
All three churches?
All three. Now, okay, so Oklahoma has apparently passed, I don't know if it's fully legal marijuana use, but it's like more than medicinal. I think it's like fairly enforced. So anyway, there's like, it's funny because last year when we went on some of those, there was a church that used to be there, but now it's like a dispensary or like a marijuana place. So you got a gas station, 2 churches, and a marijuana place.
That's funny.
Which is kind of funny. But my point is, even in those small towns, there are unchurched people, or they might attend church out of a culture thing or out of a sense of like duty, but they don't know Jesus really. And there's people in every town in America that don't know Jesus. So why are we competing with one another as churches, and why are we trying to evangelize other Christians? Like you said, you got to come to my place. It doesn't make sense. It happens. I don't know, but stop it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think as a whole, if you go to one of those cool hip churches, it's easier to invite even your coworker to that than it is to sit and
We're not cool
telling
and
a meaningful. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it's easier to talk to your friend about come to my church as opposed to let me tell you about what God is doing in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you mean for like if you're talking to a friend that's not a believer?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or, you don't, there's a lot of pressure taken off when we realize like what you kind of alluded to a few minutes ago is it's like I'm not God's only option here. I'm not the one converting a person. I'm not really even called to make a conversion like it's some sort of a sale.
Right.
Like I am called to love people, share the gospel, share who God is, what he's done in my life, and how that gets played out is sometimes it's
so is
not,
that
it's,
sorry.
It's
I don't want to interrupt.
I don't want to say it's messy because that implies that it's like I don't know the term. It's not like a solid, like a straight line graph of like you start here with the relationship here so people can
linear.
See. Linear, yeah. It's not linear. It's like
it's a non-linear
it's messy.
process.
It's messy, yeah.
Right. So maybe that's part of that problem as well as I don't know all the right words to say.
Yeah.
And then to close the sale, I don't know like how to lead somebody in that moment.
Yeah.
Like to give them the words. Somebody had to give me the words to pray the prayer kind of thing. Like I don't know how to do that with other people.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a lack of really equipping people with not like a bullet point of strategies, but just a general idea. Is that your sister?
Yeah. That's Christy. Yeah.
Why don't you read what she said?
Well, finish your thought, then we'll read it.
Or but just to get people around just more of a global sense of, as a follower of Jesus, here's the way in which you should live your life, and that should create opportunities to have spiritual conversations with people. And when you have the opportunity to do that, here's what you do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Instead of like this step-by-step process of, here, pray this thing, say these words, give them this track or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's like you said, it's not linear, and it's not a predictable process that spans across every individual. So
yeah, I mean, humans, we're complicated. We live individual, complicated lives, and things are not linear, though we like it when it is, because it's easier to check boxes. Okay, I did this, I did this, I did this.
We like that because we know that we are, and every other human is not that that easy and clean and perfect.
Yep. Right.
And so we search out things that are.
Yeah.
So read what your sister said.
Hey, Christy. She says, I believe we have shifted in evangelistic effectiveness. Devoting time and relationship development while modeling Christ-likeness seems to speak to hearts rather than cold evangelism. Are there cold evangelists? Minnesotans. Evangelists for the cold. No, anyway. Many non-believers are jaded by Christian behavior and believe all Christians are unlovely and judgmental. It is nice to show them something different. Yeah. And I think that's where I was going back to like boycotts and, things like that is the rest of the population at a whole looks at that as like, you're just unloving, and and they kind of get jaded by that. But cold call evangelism, yeah, got it.
It'd be a welcome respite from the auto insurance and student loan payoff. If I got a cold call evangelism
hey,
phone
let me tell
call,
you about Jesus.
I would much rather have that
instead
than
of your
the
car
insurance.
warranty. Your warranty's expired. And let me tell you about
Jesus.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. There are certain. Well, we'll just call it what it is. There are certain cults out there that are pretty effective at evangelism, right? Jordan, a few months back, got a handwritten letter from a local cult in the mail. And on the envelope, you know how you could tell, like, it's an older lady's handwriting? Like, there's something about it. It's like,
I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know what you're talking about.
You do. You definitely like, oh yeah, that's an older lady's handwriting. But it was a handwritten note, and it was an invitation to come to something that they're doing. And I'm looking at this, and I had no idea what this was. And I thought, honestly, I thought it was from someone from a previous church or something, because the name, for some reason, seemed vaguely familiar. I was like, what is this? Until, like, the invitation even looked pretty, just, benign and pretty innocent, until I flipped it over, and very, very fine print on the back of this invitation was this organization's name.
Which you're not going to say.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, but they might dress really nice and come to your door in packs of 4 or 5 on occasion.
Oh, okay.
On Saturdays.
Yep.
Witnessing, you know what I'm saying? They're witnesses of something.
Yep.
But Jehovah's Witness, you got it? Okay.
So you are going to say
yeah,
it.
I said. You pulled my arm, and
I did not.
I know.
No such thing.
No,
would you consider atheism a cult?
Sure, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
What, isn't there like atheist churches? No,
there is.
That's weird. It's like,
and
why?
I know a lot of modern atheists that are actually bringing their kids to Christian religious environments to give them a moral, they call it moral scaffolding.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's
almost 3 o'clock. I want to get you out the door when you have to.
Yeah.
But this is just the tippy top of the iceberg conversation. And I like what Kwame was saying about kids. Maybe we should spend more time focusing on some of that with our kids and learning from them. But if you have questions or aspects of evangelism that you would like to talk about, or you'd like us to just ramble on about, let us know. And let's start, just even if it's 3 or 4 people, a conversation that could grow to a church-wide conversation about evangelism. And before we step out and do anything, we talk to one person about it. Let's talk more about it as a church and pray about it as a church, and see where God takes us.
Yeah.
So,
sweet.
Anything else? Any last words?
No, I don't think so.
All right. That's it.
That's it.
Have a great week.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully see you this weekend. Bye, y'all.
This is the part where I sit here and Andy has to go turn off the feed, and where I just sit here awkwardly and talk into the microphone until he cuts the feed.